Welcome to The Table, a podcast where leaders pull up a chair and tell the real story, how they got there and how they stayed there. I'm your host, Jeanette Hernandez. So pull up a seat because this is The Table. Hi, Tom. Thanks so much for joining me today at the table. I think that we're going to have an interesting conversation, and really inviting you and reaching out to you stemmed from some of my other episodes, because what you do for a living is an actual solution to what some other people are recommending. So why don't we just start a little bit for people who don't know you and where you are and what you do today?
Sure. I'm Tom LaMagna. I am the CEO and president of Auriemma Roundtables. I've been with the firm for almost 23 years. Actually, I think I just passed 23 years.
Your anniversary. Happy anniversary.
Wow, thanks. Well, somebody remembered.
Yeah.
And I am on the East Coast on Long Island.
Excellent. Yes. That is, you are in more of the Mecca than I am, being in San Diego. A lot of the carriers don't have their big brick and mortars here, but the ones that do are all on the East Coast. So one of the things we chat about at the table is giving advice to people who've had some longevity in their career, because I think just as much as our business is changing, and we all want to say, it's technology and AI, and those are all valid points, but
Mhm.
we also have a leadership crisis where the newer leaders are coming up faster than ever before because of the people who are retiring faster than ever before.
Right.
So your organization has been providing what I will call our communities. Is that a fair word? Communities for
Yes.
people who are peer to peer to talk
Yes.
about things like leadership and managing, multiple generations and whatever topics they want to share that will help them perform better. What,
Correct.
and you've seen all of them. You have over 30, so I know you've sat in on a lot of them over the
Yeah.
years.
But I probably forgot more.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. After that much time, I'm sure some actually. That's a great question, right? Some do stand out. So over the 20 years that you've been part of Auriemma, what do you think are the key elements of leadership that you've seen from that collaboration perspective?
Yeah, I think one of the key traits is, as it applies to our business, I'm going to say it's humility. I know
Mm,
people sometimes use a different word. A lot of people will say, listen to people. Yes, you have to. Most leaders do that. But to be able to be with peers who you should respect, who may be in bigger companies or smaller companies, and understand that you don't always have the answer,
mm-hmm.
and you can take pieces of what others say to you and bring them back to your business. You can only do that if you leave your ego at the door. That's the
Agreed.
only way you can do it.
Yeah,
And if you do, you raise the bar for yourself in the company. Yeah,
agreed. When you've actually sat in, so if I misspeak, please correct me.
sure.
But you create round tables essentially, but they're ongoing. They're not what most industries have, where you go to a conference or something and it's just a one and done meeting. This is a
Right.
group of members who, for some, have been part of a round table for 10 years, almost all of their career.
Some
They've been
more.
some more, yep.
We
Which speaks
have.
which
Yes.
speaks to that collaboration, right?
Yes.
And why it is so critical for people. But watching the leaders, irrespective of what topic they're talking about, what do you glean when you watch them just talk to each other, open and honestly about their jobs, their issues? What have you learned?
Well, I think I learned that. I cannot believe how open and honest people are, and they truly want to help each other. And people, when you're working, you should want to improve. You should like to improve, but regardless, your company and your managers are demanding you improve.
Mhm.
And I've seen people, and help other people in our business, in our service, which is, I don't think it's like any others. We actually bring in competitors. So to have a competitor sit across the room and tell someone else their problems, well, then my ego's out the door.
Right.
And have somebody else say, "You did it that way?"
Mhm.
Humility. I'll accept what somebody else says who may have 20 years of experience more than I do. Some who are just young and have a different perspective. You get all of that different perspective, and I've been I get blown away every time I go into a meeting and I see what people will share and help others. And it truly is a fantastic network. It works.
It does work, yeah. Well, you've been doing it for over 30 years, so there's a testament to that, right? But I think I think your solution without even knowing kind of where the world was going to be in 2025, you created a solution for a problem that maybe wasn't as prevalent as it is now, but it's very difficult, particularly if you're C-suite and you have, say, VPs that report to you. It's very hard to continue that career development or personal development where you say, I might be a great technician, but I'm not a great leader. I'm not great at hiring teams or creating teams." You've created environments where people can go and talk about those kinds of issues. While it affects the job, it's really about the individual. And to your point, without ego saying, I don't know something in a safe place. Because I think that's what
Yes.
most people struggle is saying, I say I don't know all the time. That's how
Right.
I learn, right? But a
Yeah.
lot of
Some
people
it's
see that
easy,
as a
others it's
weakness.
hard.
It is very difficult. Do you, do you either by people joining or either just the participation? What do you think stops people when, I mean, I can only speak for insurance. You deal in financial services, but we're all saying we need to collaborate better as an industry, but where do you do it? So now here's a place they can do it, but it isn't like there's people lining up to do it. So what do you think causes people to have any hesitation? Is it a commitment or is it that vulnerability and humility that maybe people don't have the muscle memory in it yet?
Um, Sometimes the obstacles are time
Mm,
and understanding, because you mentioned it before, Jeanette. Um, we have we have areas, points of contact throughout the year for you
hmm
to use our services, use this platform, use this community. So you have to be proactive. Takes a special person to be proactive. A lot of people like to be spoon-fed an answer.
mm,
You hire a consultant.
right,
Go to McKinsey. You want to bring a problem to a group, you have to bring the problem. So that's one. So time, and then time. It's time required. And I think the other part is people have a hard time understanding the possibilities of a community like this.
hmm
If you if you buy a new microphone, because I see it on your desk, you're going to know the technical specs of that microphone, right?
right,
And you're going to say it's worth X dollars. You know that. Here, you have unlimited possibilities, which is great and scary. How do
right.
I measure unlimited possibilities? I've had people who asked a survey, one question, $1 million
Wow.
saved. That's hard to justify. That's hard. How do I tell the powers that be that I want to invest this money into our network?
Right,
That's the hardest thing. Um, when we get someone over, they don't leave. I
right.
think we become part of their DNA.
I think that because at least I can say in P&C space, nothing like this exists, where you can really truly collaborate, but with the same group of people, where it's beyond networking, right? It's a peer, but it turns into a friend. I'm assuming over the years.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but if they go in to this maybe with a personal edification that they need, whatever it is that they're looking for from their peers, but they do what you say. If you saved $50,000, $100,000 on claim expense, that's your ROI, and that's a lovely thing to have because this is
Hmm.
still related to your job. But what is the intangible is the idea creation. I think that's what I see. I've been able to go to a couple of them, and I think it's what makes you think, because when has anybody ever had a full day? This kind of goes to your initial statement about you have to make it a priority for yourself before you make it a priority for your organization. But when do you have a whole day to just sit and talk about your job and think about it from that perspective instead of talking about a specific KPI or, this is a
Right.
goal or we have to execute or what? It's usually problems that you're talking about instead of the proactive problem solving or solutions before you get to a bump. Do you see people
Correct.
talk about that? Some of your members that have been partners with you for a long time?
Ye- oh, all the time. It happens all the time. I don't know if I'm going to directly answer your question, but in a roundabout way, I think I'll get there. There's a term that we don't use often enough. It's called collective intelligence.
Mhm.
It's actually applied to a jury pool. So juries are people who are unrelated, right? They come together and they are actually determining the fate potentially of an individual.
Right.
The collective intelligence is a theory, and it goes into practice that that jury pool will actually be more intelligent than the prosecuting attorney or the defense attorney because of their collective nature. We do that with people who do the exact same job. So we're
Mhm.
collective intelligence, at the atom level. And I think that, to me, can help a person who is long in the job, is new to the job.
Mhm.
You might get a little scared that you're drinking water from a fire hose to have
Right.
all of those inputs coming at you, but the whole industry actually increases and raises up. Not only the person who received the problem solved, but the people around them. So it continues to say continuous excellence.
Right.
Um, I, I I've seen that 22 and 8 months ago, 22 years and 8 months ago,
Right.
and I saw that at our claims meeting. I saw the same magic happen.
Yeah. And that's an interesting term you use because now you're speaking the PNC speak, right? We're very familiar with with the logic behind a jury, but I think it's an excellent example to say what the power of collaboration can bring, because you might have one perspective on something and then you get a group of people together and collectively you have a completely different viewpoint on it. So I think
Right.
that's something that's needed. But what I really love what you said is involving the younger leaders in with maybe some of the more seasoned leaders, because
Yes.
you are peers, but I think we always just assume someone with seniority is who's teaching. And a lot of times I can tell you, talking to my son's friends who are in their 20s, they're on their game. I mean, they pay attention in a completely different way, and they used to laugh all the time about, "Mom, you have meetings, about meetings to have meetings, and then the meeting after the meeting to talk about the next meeting." He's like, "We
We
don't
have
do
those
that."
too.
Right? But they're I'll call the millennial generation, they're kind of the super processors because they're the first generation that had the phone in the hand
Yes.
and caused the brain to think faster, make decisions faster, and I think we're starting to see that come out in leaders in that generation. So collectively, having everybody in the room together, I think actually unifies an industry in a way that was probably unexpected.
Oh, absolutely. Um, we have we have an antitrust council, a fairly big, a large one, and we're looked upon in the antitrust world as a positive
Mhm.
because you want exactly what you said, and only a third party can bring it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And the young the younger generation, the next level of leaders, they do process faster.
Mhm.
I think they're kind of made for this kind of community. They might make decision, some might argue that they can make a decision too fast, but to be able to bounce it off of your peers who you respect. And when I say peers, we know what that means. We're all
Right.
doing the same job, but we come from different companies with
Correct.
different cultures, with different business models. Easiest one is to be I could be a very expense forward company,
Mhm.
or I could be a very tech forward company. Well, if I ask the tech forward company a question, I know what I'm going to receive back because I already know who they are. I've been in this community for a while. So now I can process all that a lot faster than Tom can process it,
Mhm.
and I can make a better decision because I've s- I've sourced this out to my contemporaries.
Mhm. And I think that if you looked at it holistically, what you're chatting about is this group of people coming together. There It's so critical that people take the time to pause and think because I do believe in and it hasn't even started because at least I can say in PNC, we haven't fully adopted or embraced industry wide what AI can do and the capabilities. But when we do, it's going to be the leaders that know how to manage the people who work and control the AI, but who can make quick decisions based on small sound bites. I mean, it
Right.
happens today, but I think that's going to be just a benchmarking for future leaders. If you can't learn to be comfortable in making those quick decisions, you're going to lose opportunities. But where do you get the comfort in making the decision unless you had something like a roundtable to go and actually talk and flush it out? Because we
Absolutely.
very few leaders do I know. When young people ask questions, what should I do as I'm starting out? I said, every Friday, give yourself 2 hours on your calendar, block it out. Think about your week, think about your team, think about the successes, think about what's coming up. Because that in all the chaos, particularly when something goes wrong, that thinking will be more valuable than 7 hours of meetings.
Right. We're attracted to physical labor, physical work. We are attracted to get something off of our desk, check it,
Feels
X
good
the
to check that.
box, right? And if you
Yes.
talk about the people who are um, processing a lot faster, they want to do
Mhm.
it even more so.
Correct. Yes.
Particularly our meetings are allow it a day and a half. Now, could be somebody out there saying, "Oh my goodness,
Whole day
a
and a
day
half.
and a half? I thought you were going to say an hour and a half, Tom."
Right.
No, a day and a half. If you're a leader, you have to think. You have to do what you said. Um, Wherever it is, have a whiteboard, a pad, something so you can jot something down. Now that's hard. Like I have a hard time doing it myself,
Mhm.
but put me in a room with people.
Right.
You all know, everybody knows for every individual out there, we have like 4 or 5 opinions. So get
Mhm.
20 of us in a room,
Right.
you will get every kind of answer you want. And if you can process faster than we ever could, you can take that back, process it, and take pieces of all of it and come back to your organization and say, here's what I think we can do.
And that's what I love about, um, how you've designed the roundtables is that the members of that particular roundtable, they can decide whatever they wanna talk about on the agenda.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's
Yeah.
not just
They build
one
the agenda,
topic,
Jeanette.
right? They built it. So, you might wanna go in and talk about hiring talent because that's a challenge. How do we
Mhm.
attract people to our industry? You may want to talk about expense ratios. You may want technology. You can go through such a variety of high level topics, but it's funny how all of a sudden, when it's something that hits kind of at an industry level, people will invest the time. You'll start talking instead of 1 hour on the agenda, all of a sudden it's floated into 2.5 because it's
Correct.
really critical for people, but you
Correct.
don't realize how critical until you have that sounding board of your peer to say, "Oh, like, this keeps me awake at night, but I didn't know it kept everyone else awake at night."
That's right. And you'll have conversations. Not every conversation is going to be, oh, you're not going to take back 1,000 things. You shouldn't. But every conversation, you're going to find yourself being stretched. If you're stretched, even if it's not your problem, you're going to think differently coming back.
Mhm.
I was stretched at a recent meeting. I was stretched by somebody saying, why are we recruiting post college? Why not go after kids out of high school? Might never do it,
Right.
but that ability to, I thought I knew where the goal line was, and
Yeah,
he just moved it on me.
exactly.
Ah. But now I go back and you get your rest of your team thinking like that. Let's move the
Correct.
goal line when we think.
Correct.
Um, you need it. We're moving way too fast for our own good at times.
I agree. I had this conversation with a guest a few days ago that while I sat in that chair, it was not the same job. There is forget just showing up every day and doing your job inside of your organization. The amount of external topics that you have to be aware of as a leader. You have to be abreast upon AI and how are we going to implement it? And then once you implement it, do we need people? Do we need process? What about regulatory issues? What about new laws that are changing? How is our consumer changing? It's
Right.
too much information for one individual to be a, subject matter expert on all topics. So having something like this peer-to-peer group allows them to get muscle memory or support maybe in areas that they're not strong or they don't have the time. I think
Right.
it's a time issue, frankly,
Yeah.
where we are
Oh,
now.
yeah, absolutely. You mentioned something that was pretty interesting about, how do you keep up with certain things? And you can do your research and you will, and you read your papers and your periodicals and you will. I guarantee you, if you take, let's just talk about AI for a second. If you take someone who's a thought leader in a specific area of AI and you bring them into your office and you talk to them and you'll ask questions and you'll be inquisitive, and I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. You're going to be aggressive, so you'll point and probe, but you can just go so far. Bring
Right,
that same person who's talking about AI into a room with 15 of your peers. Remember, who some people think tech forward, some people think expense, some people are very compliance driven, and all different flavors of vanilla, vanilla. You will walk out of that room saying, my goodness, I just got this massive download of AI, not because of just me, but because of my peers who provided insights and questions that I wasn't thinking about. It's just that powerful.
right. And what I like about that is it might cause, like you're saying, you come in with your perspective or what's important to you, but there's seven other topics or seven other viewpoints that are equally as important.
Yeah,
But either we're not wired to think that way. So you also just get to sit and listen to other opinions on a specific topic where you may
sure.
not have that.
Sure. Yeah, there are people who are, not intensely focused on compliance. They probably know that they should be, but they're not. They're so to go in a room and talk to peers or in a community online and hear that, you can at least have an appreciation that, okay, maybe I need somebody on my team who's a little bit more compliance savvy than I am.
Right. There is a saying, right? Great leaders continue to learn throughout their career.
Yes.
You never stop, and you can do that in multiple forms. If you're Steve Jobs or Warren Buffett, they read books every morning when they wake up. That's their first part of their disciplined routine. But if you're not somebody that goes down that road where you like to seek out the information or you don't have time, I think that this is definitely an answer for someone, but A lot of people, even executives, there's executive coaching at the C-suite level.
Mhm,
I mean, it's all levels of your career. But what I hear now, and I think it's the multi-generational workforce that's kind of prompting this, is the younger people, you should go find a mentor. Well, that's true and it's nice and it's positive along the way because it's a sounding board. Then they say you also need to go out and network. You have to go to industry events and you have to have this network of people that can follow you throughout your career. They may not specifically join in helping you develop as a leader, but you definitely need to network. I think what Auriemma does is the third piece that's actually been missing for a really, really long time because mentoring, you've got the one on one.
mhm,
Networking is great because you can do things like be on a podcast or do a blog or do a webinar, but that doesn't necessarily help support you along the way. Whereas what Auriemma has created is it's not just a community to help your career, it's really to help you and ask questions because you can observe other leaders and like you're saying in all different shapes and sizes and cultures of companies and I can only speak how I learned to be the type of leader that I wanted to be was a lot of watching the wrong things that people did in their leadership.
sure. Yep,
So, can you speak a little bit to that? Because I think that's probably I'll let you
yeah.
answer what you think the greatest benefit of being part of something like this is, but I really think that that's kinda like the three-legged stool for someone's career.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I've actually had members say that to me directly when I was managing some of the roundtables, particularly even those with 20 years experience, but mostly for future leaders or less tenured leaders. What happens is it raises the bar for your leadership capability. So, use an
Mhm.
example. There's someone who leads is a functional executive within a company, and we know there are different divisions. We understand that. But for the most part, I'm the tip of the pyramid. And that
Right.
pyramid doesn't have to be the top of JP Morgan Chase or Hartford Insurance, right? It's the tip of your pyramid. You
Right.
are that only person. So, who's challenging you? Could be your team, could be the people around you. Might be a mentor. It's not the rest of the management team. You're learning, you're visual, you're hearing, but nobody's challenging you dealing with what you're dealing with today.
Mhm.
Uh, a catastrophe somewhere. Okay. So now we have a platform where you're coming into the room, and now there are 15 of me. That
Yes.
15 of me will raise Tom LaMagna's stock for the company he works
Mhm.
for. I never realized it 10 years ago until someone told me that. Never talked about it. It happened, just never it never became apparent to me. And then someone said, "Tom, the people I send here, they come back as better leaders, smarter leaders, smarter in their functional area. They also they also become more uh, the extroverted. Not
Mhm.
everybody's an extrovert, right?
Right.
So you can be intimidated in networking and going up to someone and talking, but in a room where it's somewhat intimate, and I think we make it very appealing and open and safe, I start to talk because
Right.
they're using my lingo and I understand that lingo and I can contribute. So I also get to be worked on with my, core competencies, those inner
Mhm.
traits, those leadership traits, they come out.
And
I
as you
wish I
said
had this when I was in my 30s.
yeah, so do I, way, way earlier. But as you speak about it, I think the interesting point there is that for a leader who's doing all the things they're supposed to be doing to elevate their career, having something like this ongoing meeting that's a membership, that means everybody else sitting at that table with you has also committed to showing up. And I think when you talk about vulnerability and humility as a leader, that's the hard part because you're like, I don't really know this person. I may never see them again or have a conversation in this context. So while I have thoughts and ideas that either might help the conversation or help the person, I'm not comfortable sharing because,
Right.
I want to keep my stuff close to my vest except for the people that know me.
Mhm.
Whereas if you walk into this room with 10 or 15 people, not only do you have common interests, not only do you have common, positions in your organizations, but now you have a group of people who say, "Hey, I'm willing to show up and participate in whatever it is that we've all agreed that we're going to talk about." That I think is really,
Yeah.
really unique.
I I think, I kinda go back to LinkedIn, the LinkedIn world when it first came out. I think people generally wanna help other people. I just do.
I do. I
And
agree.
I see it all the time, and when one person starts to talk, the other talks. It doesn't matter if you're a competition or not.
No,
Um,
no.
you are careful of your own strategic, you know, intellectual
Right.
capital,
You're not sharing your
right?
secret sauce.
Right, you're not doing that, but generally speaking, people like to be helped. If you help me, I'm going to help you back. I just am. I believe in human nature. It hasn't let me down yet. Um, so yeah, yeah,
And what
I
I've
agree with
heard
you
from
100%.
every single leader that I chat with is it takes a tribe. A tribe, a village, whatever you wanna call
Yeah,
it. You cannot get through a 30-year career by yourself. You just
no,
can't. There's too many
no.
complexities of it.
I and I've seen some people do it, and they left a lot of blood in their path, and I don't think they
Correct.
were happy.
No.
You're spending time every day at work, 10, 12 hours. You gotta like what you do. You gotta like the
Mhm.
people around you. Um, it will help you draw more out of your team as well. I mean, I it's funny, this is probably for, other other services, but right, then if you think about what we're doing, then other people take their teams and they bring their teams out to do a team building.
Yes.
We do an industry building.
Yes.
So we do a functional executive industry building. That's what we do, and
That's amazing.
yeah, it works.
And I think we'll need, especially with the hybrid remote, we're never ever going to have where we all go back, every single company, every day into an office. So I think that that disconnected feeling that a lot of people are still feeling today, what you offer is a chance to get together with people in the industry in a different kind of way and not feel disconnected. Because the meetings are 2, 3 times a year. So
Yes.
you could have enough in a quarter from one meeting to go back the following quarter and kind of execute on those ideas or challenge yourself to have, improve one of your leadership muscle memories that you need to improve
Yeah.
upon. But I think it's that consistency and ongoing
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is really just so interesting.
And you're absolutely right about, we're never gonna go back. I don't think we're gonna go back to the way it was in 2019 at
No.
all, but I can tell you that when we came out of COVID, we reduced across the board our meetings from 3 in person to 2, and within 12 months, we were back to 3 because they
People
needed
miss
it.
it. Yeah,
They
people
miss
miss
it.
it.
They miss it,
I
but
mean, it's
it
nice
took.
not doing traffic and having dry
Right,
cleaning and all the
right,
like, those
right.
benefits are nice, but the human element, I
The
think
human
that
element is
how
there,
how do you do culture? How do you have a culture when everybody's away from each other?
and you have to commit to, here's the time and the commitment. You have
Mhm.
to commit to it. So you have to, in most cases, right, unless it's a regional event, you're getting on a plane and going somewhere,
Right,
and you're leaving your office, wherever that office is, for a day and a half. How can I do that? I can't do that. You're a better person if you did it.
right. And I'm sure most of your members after, 2 or 3 of your meetings, they start to look forward to it because it's a little break where you can kind of block out all the noise
It
to sit and focus.
it goes back to what you said earlier about, finding time to focus. We should absolutely find an hour, 2 hours, 3, a few days a week,
Yes.
but to find a day and a half to deal with issues that are plaguing your own functional area, or, you know, God forbid a catastrophe that happened. How are we
Mhm.
dealing with this? And we'll
Right.
actually bring people onto a virtual call. We've done it many, 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 many times. How are you dealing with this data breach? How are you dealing with Katrina? What are we doing with the cars that got damaged from Hurricane Sandy over here on Long Island?
Right.
On the phone, how you're dealing with the fraud that people are saying they got damaged, but they didn't get damaged. I don't have enough claim people to take care of this. Well, in situations like that, I will say this on the record. I don't want McKinsey telling me what to do.
Right. Yeah. It's
I
not their
want my
core business. It's yeah.
yeah, and it's new and it's happening right now today. I want the person who I've been coming who I belong to this community with to say what they're doing. And by the
Mhm.
way, they may say, I don't know.
Right.
Sometimes it's kind of nice to be and have a little therapy and say, oh, I don't have all of the answers and I'm not supposed to. So, okay, we don't have the answers. Let's talk about it. Let's talk
Right.
about the answers. And there's your thinking.
Well, I can't thank you enough because I will shout this from mountaintops. But I think from a financial services, banking and insurance in particular tend to be 5 years behind. They're just not fast moving industries, and no part of
Right.
FinServe really is. So creating these communities for current leaders, but really for future leaders to
Yep.
have a place to go and talk about how fast everything is changing, and just have a sounding board. I think it's just such an amazing concept. So thank you again for joining,
Thank you.
and
Thank you
I'm
for
sure I'll
having
have
me.
you back for another conversation.
Anytime. We'll love to.
Great. Thanks, Tom.
Okay. Bye bye.
Thanks for listening to The Table. If you like this episode, please follow us and subscribe so that others can find us. Until next time, go out and find a seat at your table.